Hi, I'm JP.
And I'm Adam.
I've never seen Lost.
I have.
I'm told that it's good.
I liked it.
I'm told that it made sense. Sort of. But we're watching it out of order.
So it definitely won't make sense.
But it might still be good. Since we won't expect it to make sense, we'll still be able to appreciate each episode on its own merits as a 1-hour story.
Sometimes 2 or 3.
As opposed to just a fraction of an ongoing, sprawling, and increasingly complex tangle of relationships, personal stories, mysteries, mythologies, experiments, social dynamics, unnatural disasters, unanswered questions, and hot tropical hookups.
Are you okay?
I'm not sure.
Because you lost me a little bit there at the end.
Well, good, because I've been lost since the beginning.
We're
lost on Lost.
Welcome, everybody, to Lost on Lost. I'm Adam Busher, and I'm joined, as always, by Secret Agent JL80085, JP Russell.
Secret Agent JL0085 is my dad. Please call me Russell.
So, JP,
yeah.
Throughout this whole thing, since we started doing the show, I've been
depressed.
I've been trying to check in on what the cast members of Lost have been doing since Lost has gone.
Oh
yeah. And so since we did our last episode in translation, I decided to check in on what our favorite Fishing Boy Hot Jin has been doing. So I started watching the Hot Zone Anthrax, which is about the anthrax letters that were getting mailed around right after 9/11.
That must be a rip-roaring good time.
It's better than I thought it would be. Daniel Day Kim plays Special Agent Matt Riker. He's one of the lead FBI agents who's investigating the threat. It's only 6 episodes. It's the second season of the show, actually. It was on National Geographic, if that was a channel. But I have two problems with it. Tom Brokaw was one of the people who got one of the anthrax letters back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It got the part of the target was like the media, so like the Post, New York Post got it, like NBC News, ABC News, like it.
Sure.
Tom Brokaw's in the show, and they have Harry Hamlin from LA Law playing him.
Oh, really?
But the problem is that the quintessential Tom Brokaw performance is Dana Carvey. And so I'm watching Harry Hamlin Tom Brokaw, but I'm like, is he just doing Dana Carvey doing Tom Brokaw?
Gerald Ford dead today.
It's not, like, yeah, it's. And so every time he comes out, I was just like, I wish this was Dana Carvey.
There's not many times in your life when you can say that.
Right. And then the second thing that I had is I haven't watched the last episode, so I don't know if they catch the guy yet or not. Today we're talking about Walkabout, the 4th episode of Season 1 and the 4th episode of Lost overall. Our centric character is everyone's favorite defender of the work-life balance, John Locke. Walkabout takes place on the 4th and 5th days after the crash of Oceanic Flight 815. JP?
Yeah.
Got a recap?
I sure do.
Do it.
Bore my ass. It's probably Millhouse. Chronologically, this is Lost's first deep dive into the sad, sad life of John Locke. Here on the podcast, we just call it a Tuesday. On the island, food is running low, and there's tons of dead bodies stacking up. I feel like there's a mutual solution here somewhere. Speaking of humans tasting like pork, everyone on the island now has a knife, thanks to our sweet baby boy, John Locke. Saeed convinces Kate to go climb a tree. Shannon convinces Charlie to go fishing. Charlie convinces himself to get doinked at a funeral. Claire convinces the writers to give her something to do. How many weapons were on this flight? The walkabout through airport security must have been a real nightmare. Find out today on Lost on Lost.
Not only did she convince the writers to give her lines, she also convinced them to finally give her a name. This is chronologically the first appearance of Claire's name.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Well, we'll get into that. Adam, we have a guest.
Sweet. That'll be a nice change of pace.
Yeah,
oh,
no, really? Welcome to the show. Long-time listener, first-time caller, Brenton Thom, everybody.
Howdy. Great to be here.
So, Brenton, I feel like we have to give you a fairly extensive introduction here.
Not really.
Oh, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, Brenton was one of our first major donors to coffee.com, and then the bit where we gave him a shout out and the episode had to get cut for time.
It's typical.
So, thanks, Brenton, for keeping the lights on.
Yeah, buddy. We appreciate it.
No worries. Keep up the good work.
In terms of Lost, so back in the pilot of this podcast 40 some odd episodes ago, I mentioned that in college I sat down and randomly watched episodes of Lost that one of my other roommates was watching. Brenton is in fact that roommate. I think we have you to blame for most of this podcast, Brenton.
That's weird.
No,
I was going to say
please, no.
thank, but blame's good too. Like,
So Brenton, tell us a little bit about your relationship with the television show Lost. How did you come about starting to watch it?
So I got on Lost kind of late. I think around 2007, 2008. I didn't jump on the Lost bandwagon right away because I was confusing it with that reality show. I think it was Survivor. So I thought Lost was this reality show, and I had nothing to do with it. But my buddy Brett had the first 3 seasons on DVD, so I watched it during like one of the winter breaks, and I got hooked immediately. So I watched the first 3 seasons, and as soon as I finished that, I think season 4 was on Hulu.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, so as soon as I finished that, the 5th season was about to come out. So I pretty much just watched it as it came out, the 5th season, and then finished it with the 6th season. So got to see the first 4 seasons in a binge watch.
And I think that's when I randomly saw, because I saw 1 episode from season 3 and then 2 or 3 episodes from like seasons 5 and 6 with you. And I walked in like an irresponsible child and was like, Brenton, explain this show to me. And I remember your head exploding, being like, dude, I can't. Fucking... No, you need to start over if you want to know what's going on.
Or just start in random order like you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. It works out just the same. So, hey, do you guys want to talk about Lost?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Today's episode, Walkabout, originally aired on October 13th, 2004. It was written by David Fury and directed by Jack Bender. Beyond Lost, David Fury has been an executive or co-executive producer on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, 24, and Fringe, among others. He was also nominated for an Emmy for the script for today's episode, Walkabout.
Really?
It seems that he may be an okay writer.
This episode got nominated for an Emmy. Okay. All right.
And then most recently, Jack Bender was the executive producer on a new science fiction horror show on Epix called From, starring Lost alumnus Harold Perrineau. The first 2 episodes were free on Prime Video, and they were pretty spooky and pretty interesting. However, not interesting enough for me to spend $6 a month on the Epix streamer, so maybe I will finish that when I cancel my Stars add-on to my Hulu account.
Adam's taking a drink of water right now, but he might as well take a drink of something else because we start this episode on an I, baby. Drink.
So this is interesting. This is a little interesting because this is the first on-island flashback.
Oh,
This is
sure.
the first time that they flashed back to a time on the island because we open in flashback to the crash right after the crash.
Yeah.
Locke's still laying in the sand, still in his traveling gear. And yeah, he wakes up. And he's staring at his toe.
Excuse me, his gold toe dress sock. This episode of Lost on Lost brought to you by Gold Toe Dress Socks. For when you can't afford Nikes. The one note that I have, because he goes to put on his shoe, and I was like, man, the tread on those shoes looks immaculate. Oh wait. But yeah, we get old Johnny Locke. He's looking at his foot. Seems a bit sort of stunned. I mean, the man was just in a plane crash, so understandable. And then we kind of immediately cut to present on the island, with Locke sitting by a fire and a dog barking.
Yep. It's night. Everybody is trying to get some rest. But yeah, Vincent's just going nuts. Obviously, Vincent's barking at something. He's not just barking
Sure.
nonsense. That was my first thought when I was, because he just like kept barking. It wasn't just like a single bark. Like,
Shut that damn dog up.
Yeah. It starts waking everybody up. And so like this was an interesting little shot to me as they started going through people waking up, because it's the nonverbal reintroduction for the episode we're seeing.
Right, of all of our main cast.
Yeah. So like right next door to Walt and Michael, Boone and Shannon are there. And then right next to them, Sun and Jin are nestled together. Right next to them, their neighbor is Saeed. And then a little bit further down the beach, which I thought was kind of interesting, was Claire and Hurley. And it made me think, like, later on we all know, of course, that Claire and Charlie are a bit of a duo. And only just for this brief moment, I was thinking to myself, what if it was Hurley and Claire, where, like, instead of like this weird sort of pseudo-romantic relationship that we see Claire and Charlie get into, like, we have just sort of like a more brother-sister sibling type caregiver or like relationship between Hurley and Claire.
Sure. Surrogate father to fucking Onion Head or whatever.
Hurley is the wet nurse.
Yeah, and I was just thinking to myself, I was like, man, I personally think that might have been really interesting. I don't know about more interesting, but would have been interesting. So
there's a noise emanating from the fuselage. Jack has some fantastic comment about it. It's probably Sawyer.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny. He's like, I'm right here, asshole.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right here. I'm right behind you, jackass. Yeah. It's like that's a well-deserved jackass right there. Everybody starts to, sort of slice the pie and try to look in the fuselage here.
The cool thing was, like, we had like it's not an A team, but it's like a sort of a Scooby gang. Yeah. Because, like, so that once they figured it's not Sawyer, Jack grabs a little flashlight and moves forward, and then Sawyer piles in behind him, and then Kate, and then the three of them are approaching, and then like Charlie just kind of hovers in.
Yeah.
Can we point out, like, Jack pulls out this little tiny pocket flashlight, and then Sawyer pulls out this massive, like, briefcase flashlight. It's sort of like, hey, my dick's bigger than yours.
Yeah. It again asks the question, who is traveling with this huge flashlight?
There's so much. We need to start keeping track of the insane things that survivors have access to because they were just on this flight. But yeah, they look in there, and from the audience perspective, we can't exactly tell what it is. You kind of see like a shadow of something. Mm-hmm. Sawyer's like, I'm going to shine some light on this. And then flashes, and then it spooks. What we find out is a boar. Was anyone else confused as to what it was?
No.
Oh. I thought it was going to be another polar bear.
Yeah, I thought it was some sort of animal.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Like, it was obviously an animal of some kind.
Right. I was trying to remember, like, oh, this is really early on. We've encountered polar bears. We know there's polar bears on the island. I assumed what it was. And then it runs out into the darkness. I'm like, well, that wasn't white at all. That was black. What the fuck was that? And they're like, boars. I'm like, oh, yeah, the other thing on the island.
Right. And that's why I assumed it was boar, because at this point, again, we're not watching it chronologically. We've seen boars, and they talk about boar all the time. So I was like, oh, it's boars. It was kind of cool because, like, he shines the flashlight in, and the boar turns his head, and you see the eyes flash in the darkness. That was, like, kind of a little bit spooky. Creepy. I liked that.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of neat.
It's definitely a way of getting around the fact that they didn't have a boar or a very good CGI boar. So it's a lot of just like rustling shadows.
They flip out. Jack just screams, run, and everybody starts like bailing. Like, it's classic. Like, people falling down, and like
we're missing the sequence where they're all in a hallway with a bunch of doors, and like they all are going through, and the boar's going through, and then they all end up going through the same door. Anyways,
and so they get spooked. The animals get spooked, and so these 30 to 50 feral hogs just come running out of the fuselage and off into the tree line.
That's our cold open.
Yeah, that's it. That's a cold open. So it cuts back to that same evening. Yet Jack is tending to Charlie's wound. He's putting like a little bitty Band-Aid on him. Like, just put some sand on it or something. Like, it's not that big. Just like hold a piece of whatever. Yeah, don't waste a Band-Aid on this idiot.
I was gonna say, them tusks, man. Them tusks got him good.
You and Tom are probably in the running for Lost on Lost most outdoorsy guests. Have you ever encountered a boar like in real life?
I've hunted a wild boar before. It was like a thermal night hunt.
Damn.
Did you just use a knife with a thermal scope?
No, it was a regular rifle with the optics, so they love to hide.
I buy that.
Oh, do they? All right. Well, resident boar expert Brenton Thom. Good.
No. I'm no expert.
You're neither an export nor an expert.
I export boar.
No, I'm writing that down. The resident boar exporter / expert.
As we're about to find out, the island's expert boar hunter isn't an expert either. So, you make do with what you got.
They talk about how to solve the problem of the zombies and the boars. But let's just burn down the only shelter that the island has provided for us.
I do want to mention on that. I was going to wait until we got towards the end when the whole thing happens. But really, they're going to burn the plane, their only shelter?
Right. And you're going to tell me they got every little morsel of goodness out of it, in terms of supplies and like metal, even, like all the seats and all that stuff.
People didn't want to go into the plane because of, in the words of Hurley, it's pretty grim in there. So yeah, there's no way. Like the only time, again, it's 4 or 5 days into it, the only time we've seen anybody go in there is Jack when he was looking for medicine. Yeah, there's no way.
And you said that too. In 4 days on the beach, nobody's burnt, nobody's lips are dry, nobody's red, and like they're sleeping out in the elements. They're sleeping on the sand, the cold sand in the middle of the night, instead of being in a cushiony, concealed aircraft. I don't know.
It screws up my week if I sleep on the wrong side of the bed without my, 3-inch memory foam mattress topper and side sleeper pillow. But yeah, Jack has some rationale of, well, we can't bury the bodies because animals will keep, digging them up and trying to eat them. And I'm like, well, yeah, because we've seen you guys bury bodies on the beaches and y'all are burying them like 3 inches under the goddamn sand.
Right, in the sand, exactly. You're burying them next to the fucking water
near the tide
and not digging deep holes. Like, there's a reason graves are 6 feet deep or more, whatever.
Right.
Like,
couldn't they just, put the bodies on piles of wood and burn the wood and then actually use the fuselage?
Or that. That is a great fucking idea, Brenton. It's too bad you aren't there.
Yeah, I have a feeling the writers to this show might have not had wilderness experience, and they're just kind of just writing it on the fly.
You can tell by the way the show is. Yeah, they're talking about sort of sensitive considerations too, in terms of like, what about, some of these people, their religious, beliefs, their bodies need to be disposed of a certain way. And Jack's like, well, we don't have time to sort out all their gods. And Charlie, actually with a good singer, is like, last time I checked, we have loads of time.
That's very true. It's
been 4 days. You're not getting rescued anytime soon. If it's more than 3 days, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I can't remember which of our guests said it. We'll have to look it up later and shout them out. But Lost is all about deadline management.
I feel like that's Jake Jacobson.
That was probably Jacobson. But yeah, there's no time pressure here, Jack. Like, we got time. They kind of, like, Jack kind of puts a pin on the disc. He's like, we're doing it, whatever. And then he hustles off.
Okay.
And everybody's like, all right, I guess Jack's in charge. And we cut to the next morning. So it looks like they're going to try to get some of the shit out of the plane before they do set it on fire. The grimness of it now no longer bothering anybody. Well, everybody will help just grab seat cushions and bullshit. It's like, there's bodies in it, whatever.
Rather than rip apart the entire innards of an airplane, it would probably be easier to pull out 20 bodies. But,
I don't think metal burns, so probably be easier to pull out the corpse and burn the corpse.
None of us have been in a plane crash before, so like all of our assumptions about this are all based on, just...
I've read some articles about jet fuel and steel beams I'd like to get into now.
That's our second 9/11 reference in this episode. Jesus Christ. Saeed's his attitude about it, about the whole plane burning thing has continued. He's like, I'm not helping do that. That's dumb. I'm doing Professor Gilligan shit over here.
So yeah, he's gonna pick up the transmission that they heard. We know it's Rousseau's transmission. He's gonna use some sort of transceiver and triangulate some sort of fucking sciencey shit that I'm too stupid to disprove. Well, Brenton, you work in communications. Did it make any sense to you?
I was going to say, he's pretty tech savvy for a comm officer. I mean, he's got real hands-on experience with fuses and microprocessors and stuff like that for an officer. Yeah, I don't buy it.
For those not in the military, officers don't typically have a job. So
their job is being an officer.
Right, yeah. So
especially being a Republican Guard, because there's a classes system with them too. The officers, they lead the folks and they take bribes and stuff like that. So they're completely different than the enlisted folks. So the fact that he knows this technology is kind of maybe he did something else before Republican Guard.
It's possible.
He's explaining his plan, and Kate's like, "Well, what can I do to help?" There's another one of these lines later where everyone seems like the writers want to convey that people are picking up on the fact that Kate wants to get off the island, and she's very anxious to get off the island. And I'm like, everyone should be anxious to get off this fucking island.
Right.
Asking, what can I do to help, shouldn't be like a red flag. It's hey, what can I do to help?
Right. You seem pretty anxious to get off this island.
No shit.
aren't you? Like,
We've been here for 4 days and our food's running out. Do you want to fucking stay here?
Yeah.
Like, cut to Michael and Walt.
Walt wants to chill with Locke.
Walt wants to see what Mr. Locke is up to.
Yeah, like Michael's just collecting wood for the big house burning party, and he's like, "Why don't you help your dad pick firewood?" And he's like, "Fuck all that, dude! Like, you pick firewood. I'm a kid. Like, I want to go see what he's up to. Like, he's got some cool shit going on over there."
Well, and Walt's got a good little dig at him. He's like, he actually talks to me.
Yeah.
Effectively, Michael is as much of a stranger to him as Locke is at this point. You know,
Yes.
he's known his dad for a few minutes more.
Yeah.
Yeah, their relationship isn't great.
Michael, regardless of that truth, he's still very reluctant to let Walt go talk to Locke. From there, we cut to Hurley and Sawyer.
Sawyer and Hurley are fighting.
This is a fight that I would have loved to see go on.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Sawyer and Hurley are tussling over, I think it's a backpack that's got what Hurley says are like the last of the peanuts.
Yeah, it's the last of the peanuts, yeah. The first attempt to break up the fight is made by Boone, showing yet again how useless he is at everything. He's just like, hey, knock it off. So like, shut up, Metro. And then Jack and Saeed actually come and physically break up the fight.
Sawyer's rationale for like, hey, this is my own private stash. I found it on the plane. So it's like, you found these peanuts on the plane and now they're yours? I don't like that rationale of like, this is now mine. Just, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
Sorry, bud. Like, I know it's like Lord of the Flies and shit like that, because he said that in like one of the other, he's like, I'm in the wild, you know. It's like, no, it's not I found this, it's mine. It's I found this, it's ours. Mm-hmm. Sorry, comrade. Yeah. Like, everybody's got to make it out of here, not just you.
Yep.
The problem is that this revelation that food is running out is made very publicly, and it possibly could start a panic. Saeed kind of tries to jump on. He's like, hey, like, calm down. We can forage a little bit. Like, there's food around here.
There's plenty on this island that we can eat. Yeah. And then Sawyer has some snarky comment. I don't even remember what the fuck he says. Because I got distracted by Dorothy.
So good. Yeah, Sawyer says something idiotic, and then just like a knife buries itself into the seat next to him that he's sitting in. And everybody does the whip head turn over to where the knife came from.
It's fucking dad bod Johnny Locke just standing there, fucking dick out, just the absolute swagger. The formation of the eye scar, the origin's still there. It's still sort of scabbing over.
We hunt
boar. We're gonna hunt for boar.
I've seen mention to this scene before. Obviously never watched it, but just being on Lost social media. And I was trying to put myself in the mindset of like not knowing who John Locke was or what he becomes, and seeing that for the first time, and my jaw, I had to pick up off the floor. It was next to my boots. Like, oh my God, so good.
Yeah, like this is we've seen like John Locke a little bit here and there, but we don't, chronologically, we're not supposed to know anything about him.
Was it the episode right before this where we got the end where it's like super creepy
of him just
like
staring off at yeah. And so we've seen that, so we chronologically know something's coming, but we have no idea what. Jack, you either have very good aim or very bad aim.
There's some good zingers in this episode. I like that.
That'd be pretty buck wild. Introduction to John Locke. My first action of note is going to be burying a knife into the chest of the most annoying character on the cast.
I missed.
I missed. He's got a case of knives.
Can we talk about that for a second?
We absolutely can.
So first thing I want to note, those knives aren't even like proper hunting. Like they're all over 6 inches. Like they're not for like skinning. Like it's just a random set of knives that look scary.
One of them's got a knuckle guard, like a.
And also, the suitcase that's holding those knives looks almost very similar to the same suitcase that hit the air marshal in the pilot episode. Yep. So was it checked or was it in the carry-on?
That would be funny if it was just in an overhead and that's the thing that killed Edward Mars or knocked him out. Oh man. Yeah, because he says they're like, how'd you get all these knives? And he's like, I checked them. Like, you can take anything on a plane as long as you tell them about it, just like not explosives and shit. But like, yeah.
Well, we have established that somebody was smuggling fireworks on the flight.
Yeah.
So there's knives, guns, and fireworks.
Charlie just had heroin in his pocket. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Again, again, this is post 9/11. They're still ironing out the kinks of what you can and cannot carry.
Yeah, they have not yet settled on the 1 ounce of shampoo. If you're gonna bring a set of golf clubs, you only get 3 irons. You can't bring all of them, etc. There we go, 3 9/11.
Cut to a flashback.
Yeah, Locke's working a cube. Just cube job, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to do a job. Gets a little phone call.
Colonel, is this line secure?
He checks to see if the line is secure, of course, by
Of course.
just looking around his cubicle.
That works.
Quiet. Do you smell that?
It's blood.
Yes, this line's secure. Go ahead. What is it, JL12 or GL12?
Yes. Something.
Yeah, a little bit of code, like some sort of mill speak.
Maneuvers at 1300 hours, which I was like, daytime ops? That sounds sketchy.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit of a misdirect. Like, it obviously, again, if you pick up on these little clues as to there's no way he's like some sort of real spy or military person or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
It's an interesting little misdirect. But he hangs up the phone, and then Randy Nations comes walking by.
Piece of shit.
That's the same notes I put. Piece of shit.
I need your TPS reports, John. Get back to work. I mean, Colonel.
A TPS report is a real thing. I had to look it up. A test procedures specification report.
Right. It's not just a bit from Office Space.
It feels like they just said it
as
a
Office Space
nod
reference.
to Office Space, and it felt really forced and lame. I'm sorry.
Hey, man, that's Emmy award-winning writing. And don't diss it.
I mean, nominated.
Excuse me, nominated. Yes, nominated.
Yeah, so it's clearly, he's not actually a spy, and his boss is like, fucking get back to work, Colonel, or whatever.
Not chronologically. We've seen Randy Nations a couple times already.
What?
Yeah, this is the guy. He works at Mr. Clucks and shit.
That's the same guy?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Adam,
That's
no.
That's why he's such a piece of shit.
What?
You didn't recognize him?
I have face blindness. You know this.
That's Randy Nations. He also, at some point in Lost history, is Hurley's boss at Mr. Clucks, and then Hurley's employee at that same Mr. Clucks.
I didn't realize that was the same guy. This changes everything.
Which tells us a little bit about Locke. If you're watching non-chronologically, now since we know that Randy Nations is the same area, John Locke is still lives in the greater Los Angeles area.
Yeah, I'm checking notes right now. It says 5 episodes he's in.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I didn't
wild.
believe that either.
This episode marks the first appearance of Billy Ray Gallion as Randy Nations.
So why bring this guy back as anyways?
He's according to Lostpedia, a rude and arrogant middle management boss for whom both Hurley and Locke have worked.
Well, so we've now seen him 3 times. We have 2 more goddamn Randy episodes in this show.
Apparently.
For fuck's sake. Back on the island, Kate has a knife. Do all the interns get Glocks? No, they have to share one. Her and Jack are talking about something, and Jack's misogynistic and says something about, I don't know, some dumb shit. And she's like, who says this is my first boar hunt? I'm like, yeah, get him, Kate.
I wanted to go back real quick and just make a comment about how dorky Jack is in this episode, first personified by his bandana that he's wearing during the fight breakup scene.
I wear bandanas all the time.
Yeah, but he's wearing it in a real dorky way.
Oh, okay, good. Do I wear it in a cool way?
Yeah. Yeah, dude, come
Thanks.
on.
Jack has some other line about, again, well, you always volunteer to go into the woods, which it's like, again, people are trying to help get you all off this island. Maybe just shut the fuck up. And they have some exchange about, like, you want to go into the woods? We know what's out there. And Kate's like, no, we don't know what's out there. Like, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Then he's like, oh, you're going to go out there with our new friend Locke? What do you think about a guy who has a suitcase full of knives?
That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I would think, but I guess I'm not a little girl. So Jack would not have a problem with me doing it compared to Kate.
Oh God, I'd give anything if it was a suitcase full of like novelty knives. Like he's got the one Klingon knife that has like the 2 little knives that pop out, and like
a miniature bat whip.
Yeah, like a Lord of the Rings knife. Oh man,
it's just odd. But like, it's like you're saying, hey, don't go out with this guy that has these knives to go home. Like, he's looking out for the group, wanting to find food and sustenance. It's like, how would you not want to do that? It's like, we're still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
I get it. You think he's just going to start slashing people off I guess you could think that, but still, you're like, what's the alternative? Starve?
Yeah, let him go hunting by himself and maybe get hurt or lost or killed.
And if his motive was to lead people into the woods to kill them, he wouldn't publicly be like, hey, let's all go hunting, like he'd pull Charlie aside and then just stab him to death, like
Charlie, I found this weird sort of tan white powder out here. I'm wondering if you could identify it for me.
stab.
Michael goes to he's gonna be the third. Locke mentioned earlier he could probably do it with 3 people. So Michael's gonna be hunter number 3. He leaves Walt with Son, which is an interesting choice.
There are 40 goddamn people that speak English that you could leave your child with, and you decide to American speak at one of the few people that don't speak English.
I was wondering if there was subtle reasoning behind that. Like, is he attracted to her? Because like everyone he could have went to, he went to her, and he can't even talk to her. Maybe there's some subtext there.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Brenton, because chronologically there is an episode prior to this where Michael and Son have a classic television trope of him accidentally walking in on her topless. Which we've seen semi-recently, which hypothetically the chronological viewer would have seen just before this. It's like in episode 2 or 3 in which this happens. So I think maybe he's trying to do something about the awkwardness there of accidentally having seen her titties, but you don't speak English. You're not going to be able to smooth the awkwardness out because the two of you, there's a language barrier, bro. Like you're just like, come on. And here's the other gag about it too. Is like, Brenton, you know this. Son speaks English. She speaks English, so like, she knows what he says. She's like, yeah, no. Then she's got a fake, like, I think I know. I bought your, like, she's just like, yeah, go, just leave, fuck off. Quit being weird.
Yeah.
Stop. I know you're picturing me naked right now. Fuck all the way off.
She could easily just wink at him like, secret safe.
Yeah, I'll watch it. No problem. Claire wants to do a memorial service for the passengers who didn't make it. She comes to Jack with this idea. Jack, not having it.
He's like, great, you want to do something, you do it. She's like, well, maybe you should say something. He's like, it's not my thing. Like, why are you assuming I want to do this? If you want it done, go ahead and do it yourself. And she's like, okay.
I mean, good job for her for taking the lead.
Yeah. I think it's a decent thing, especially like people are grieving, and it's a good sense of closure, especially because you do have fucking dead bodies all over the place. Like it's a good psychological thing to do.
Yeah. And Jack says it in a shitty way, but he's got a point. He's like, Jack does not have to do everything. Like, there are 40 people here. A memorial service can easily be led by somebody with some more compassion.
Yeah.
Somebody, maybe like a future mother. Woman spots Rose sitting off on the beach by herself. And then it just becomes a Boone and Shannon thing.
Yeah.
Fucking these two.
Yeah. Boone's like, she's been sitting out there. Maybe somebody should do something.
Why can't you?
Yeah, right. Like, you go talk to her. You're a human, and she's a human. Just go talk to her. Like,
it's sort of the same conversation that Jack and Claire just had about the bodies.
It's exactly it.
Hey, somebody should do something about that.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
Go do it. Fuck face. But it devolves into a argument between the two of them about, like, Boone just thinks Shannon can't take care of herself. She's like, I can do anything I want, blah, blah, blah.
She's literally just sitting there doing a crossword or something. And he's like, thanks for all the help. We're all going to fucking starve to death. She's like, well, I'm not going to starve. I'll catch a fish, The ocean's full of fish.
A little bit of a joke. This isn't as good as some of the other jokes that have come up, but Boone's like, I'm sorry, but the ocean's not going to take your gold card. That's a little funny.
Yeah.
We briefly watch the hunting party track the boar. They just talk about, like, Locke's explaining how he's tracking, like, they're rooting, stuff like that.
Yeah. Can we talk about why Locke, like, everyone has their knives sheathed or holstered, and his is just in his hand, up facing up the whole time, and he's like touching the wood on the trees, like, see, they're digging in here. It's like, you're dulling out your blade. Why are you carrying your knife? You can easily have it on your waist the whole time, and when the boars appear, pull it out.
Point with your finger.
I get it. It's more dramatic. It's visually better seeing him hold this thing, but I feel like it could be more effective if he pulls it out when the boars are nearby.
It's the same reason, like, when it's tater tot night, I get really excited and I just walk around with my silverware in my hand, waiting for Kai to finish making my tater tots in the air fryer. and I'm just like stomping around tater tot night. It's the same thing. I mean, we learn very soon that John has been waiting for this for a long time, so he's excited.
We cut to Charlie trying to do some heroin
with an empty bag.
Yeah, he's down to the dregs on his plastic bag of.
Dude, I
heroin.
just rewatched Tropic Thunder, and when Jack Black, is trying to do drugs in the woods, and he keeps getting spooked. He's like, it's my Skittles,
Jelly beans.
jelly beans. That's what it is. Yeah, it's jelly beans.
Yeah, he gets interrupted by Shannon. This is the beginning of Shannon attempting to fish.
What? There's no way she didn't see drugs. There's no way. She's like, whatever. Good,
Yeah.
you're strung out and horny and going through withdrawal.
I can exploit that.
Yeah.
Back to the beach, the plain area. Boone again, dude. Fucking go do it yourself. This is the second person you've asked to go fucking deal with this.
Yeah.
He asked Jack to go talk to Rose.
Well, but at the same time, maybe Boone recognizes he doesn't have the best people skills.
I do not buy that. I think that Boone. I do not believe that Boone is the type of person to admit his own weaknesses, and I believe that the show throughout, not only Lost, but Lost on Lost reinforce. I think there's plenty of evidence to back me up there. I think that he is arrogant and selfish and not self-aware, and he's just lazy and entitled. And that's the reason why he doesn't want to go do it himself, is because if he can get somebody else to do it, he would rather do that.
Well, when you say it like that, all logically and making sense.
I think this scene would have played out better if Boone went to go attempt to talk to her after mentioning it to Jack, but he has terrible bedside manner where he can't really converse to her. And then Jack comes over. It's like, I got this. And then starts talking to Rose.
I like that.
Yeah, let Boone just be the buffoon
like
we all know
struggling
he
to talk.
is.
Right, bail him out again. Yeah, Jack bails Boone out after, because I mean, like there's a scene where Boone tries to rescue somebody who's drowning, and Jack's the one who ends up actually he rescues Boone because Boone knows Strong's trying
about that.
Yeah.
He just finds him under the water.
Yeah. So like the thing that gets Jack to go do it is Boone's like, you did save her life, like.
Yeah.
So you should,
fine.
you might have a rapport with her or whatever. So
And he brings her water in a blanket, and he's like, well, you're not going to be by yourself. We'll just sit here for a while in
don't have to
silence.
talk,
It's kind of sweet.
cut back to the hunting party. Just a little bit of exposition here. Like Kate's like, what's the deal with you and Walt? And he's like, I only just met him, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, this is all stuff that we know now on the podcast here.
Michael asks her what she's doing. Like, well, what were you doing in Australia? And then they get cut off by Locke, shushing them.
Locke sees signs of an animal. So knives at the ready. Now, Brenton, now's the time to unsheath
he's got like
the
this
knife.
8-inch blade, holding it up, doing like next to his face, like doing these movements. It's like, it's such unsafe handling. And then when he grabs Kate too to move her, it's like, you got the blade in your hand. You could have stabbed her.
Maybe he should have.
They're trying. He's like giving him the signals, like you go there, you go here, and Michael's like, stop doing the signals, whatever, and that spooks the boar, and Michael gets gored by it.
I'm military. Brenton, you're military. So Adam, you're non-military. Did you have a fairly decent understanding of what the hand signals were?
Yeah, because they weren't, again, you said, I'm not military. So as far as I know, they weren't military hand signals. He pointed at Kate, and then he pointed to a place, which to me is like, you go there. And because he's not talking, the signal also means be quiet. You quietly go over there. Yeah, I think I was pretty on board with it. I at no point thought that he was telling me to steal second. And I'm a baseball guy, so maybe that's why. That's obviously not the sign for steal. Yeah, varies team by team. We don't have to get into it.
Most of the hand signals I've done in the Army just involve when my first sergeant walks out of the office, and I do sort of a slow wanking motion.
Not the middle finger.
Well, that one too. Brenton. Sometimes I use the Navy signals. Cut to a flashback.
Yep. It's lunchtime.
Colonel.
It's time for the 1300 maneuvers. They were talking about playing some sort of military strategy game.
Yeah, they didn't have the licensing to use Risk, so
Yeah, so it's just green army men in a dry erase map of probably Europe, I would assume. Based on Locke's age, he's probably doing a reenactment of World War II.
it gotta be.
They're just playing a game. It's lunchtime, drinking soda, having a sandwich. Randy comes in, it's just breaking everybody's balls. Like,
What a piece of shit. Like, what kind of leader is that? Where it's like, you're going to talk down someone like, I looked up your background. It's like, you are a piece of shit boss, or you're not even a leader. You're an asshole.
That's one of the things he digs on Locke about. He's like, oh, you fancy yourself a leader. What kind of leader? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, fucking pot kettle. Dude, you stink at this. Like, you're just out here breaking everybody's balls.
You're lucky that Locke only tells you off at one point and doesn't come in and shoot you, like, with how, like, inhuman you are treating him right now.
The hostility that Randy has toward Locke. For what reason? Like, just why? Like, it's his lunch. Let him he can do whatever he wants on his lunch. If he wants to play a game with why aren't you breaking the other guy's balls? Like, the other guy's playing the game too.
Even as a person, like, as a boss, this doesn't matter, but like, to tell someone like, hey, you can't do this, what kind of person are you to say that to someone else?
Not to spoil the episode here, he's also just straight up digging on the guy for being disabled. Like,
that's double piece of shit.
That's it.
That's super fucked up.
Certainly an extra ick factor.
Like, I get that that's supposed to be the big reveal at the end of the episode, but rewatch it and then it's like, well, you don't have use of your legs, idiot. Like, whoa, that's fucked up, man.
Yeah, he tells Randy off a little bit. He's like, he doesn't shout at him, doesn't anything like that, but he's like, don't tell me what I can't do. There's a reason to everything that I do, and even if the reason is I want to, that's good enough.
Right? Exactly.
But don't so don't tell me what I can't do.
Very valid statement.
So from there we cut back to the hunting party. They're recovering from the boar attack. Locke's disoriented.
Yeah, he says, I just got the wind knocked out of me, Helen.
Yeah. Kate's like, what? You called me Helen? And he's like, did I? I'm sorry.
Is that not your name?
We just met. Technically, I don't think you've told me your name yet. Is it not Helen?
Rose.
Debbie? Dorothy? She's like, we got to take Michael back. He's like, go ahead. I will continue on the boar. She tells him, you can't do that. He says, don't tell me what I can't do.
Don't tell me what I can't do. Man, they double down on his goddamn catchphrase. He says it like six fucking times in this episode.
It was good setup in the previous scene at the break room because like, hey, you can't tell someone what they can't do. But this seemed a little like now he's blind with pride. He's like, I'm going to go do this instead of helping one of our injured comrades.
That's a really good way of putting it, Brandon. Yeah. It's way more pride than it is sort of determination, I feel like.
It's like we have an injured comrade now and you're going to leave us to go hunt something that you think you need to do. Right,
and that you already admitted probably takes 3 people. From there, we cut to our other 2 providers. This should have been Hurley and Charlie's billet throughout the show.
Yes. Don't have Charlie messing around with Echo. Just have them both be the fun time mess around boys.
Yes, they are. It shows how naturally comic relief comes to these 2 characters, these 2 actors.
They're so good at it.
When you find something that works, do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jorge Garcia is a fucking natural at it. And Dominic Monaghan definitely has his moments, but they give him so much like dark brooding shit to do that's so annoying.
On a survival note, they could have gotten fish a lot sooner if they had the spear already under the water. Because of the fraction of the water, it distorts where the fish actually is. So if you keep the spear under the water, you can stab it that way.
Right. Yeah, the fish is like below where you see it. Or above where you see it, based on how.
So just for those survivalists out there that ever get stranded on a lost island, they can get fish by remembering that little tip.
If you don't have the scratch to pay for Jesse Krebs' masterclass, we have like sort of a minor class here on survival. Here on
she does cover cannibalism pretty late in the lesson, so you can also just fast forward to that. I do have a note. Their interaction is just me and Murph drunk in college.
Trying to spearfish in Lake Winnebago.
Well, just like how, like, Hurley's like, fine, you fucking do it. And then Charlie goes full send and ends up dunking himself in the water. I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
The bit is like, because Hurley makes the first stab and misses and snaps. He's like, damn it. Oh, bro. And Charlie's like, I'll take it. And he's like, yeah, no problem. Just like, total like tone shift, like goes from totally irate to, all right, yeah, here you go.
Yeah, you try it. Shithead.
So good. And after Charlie bails into the water, he's like, he was excited. He's like, did you see how close I was? I almost had it.
It's so wholesome, and I love it.
We go cut to Claire. Claire's organizing the documents. She has taken lead on the memorial service thing. As she's sorting through some of the papers and stuff like that, she finds an envelope with Saeed's name on it. Hey, isn't your name Saeed? It is. I found this of you. And it's we've seen Saeed with this envelope before. It's a picture of his on again, off again girlfriend Nadia.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. That's a good way to put it. Interesting bit of trivia about this photo. It was originally going to just be a random person, but they shot solitary the episode with Saeed, and so they had the actress that was going to be Nadia. So they were managed to take some stills and and have them in this insert. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. Otherwise, it would have been a different actress, hypothetically. He's super happy to have it, and understandably. Yeah. So this is a personal effect that he thought he lost.
Cut to Rose and Jack still just sitting on the beach, kind of in silence, and then Rose just sort of offers up, his fingers swell whenever he flies. She's talking about Bernard, her husband. And that's why she has his wedding ring.
The interesting thing that I found in this scene was that she eventually starts to talk a little bit about Jack, and she mentions that he has a good soul, which I trust Rose. I believe Rose.
Yeah.
And there's something earnest about her, not only her character, but like her beliefs and all of that stuff. And like, especially in the context of loss. So like for her to say that, I feel like it's something that, despite Jack being so like, he's got, he's mood swings, he's got a lot of issues, especially with his father and, and drinking responsibility and all that stuff like that. Like, but there is a truth to that. And I think that it's a little line that as the show progressed in real time, I think everybody probably forgot that she ever said it, but I think it's true. I liked hearing that line again for the first time, having not watched Lost since 15 years ago, whatever. From there, we cut to a flashback. John is on the phone with Helen.
We on the podcast here have seen a lot of Locke's past that has led up to this point. And I mean, John's story is very sad, but it has all led to this very sad, very depressing life. So it's interesting to watch it in this order where we're seeing it a little bit more chronologically, oddly enough.
Yeah, Locke's flashbacks chronologically, yeah.
Yeah, sans how he ends up in a wheelchair.
Right.
But man, he, we know his relationship with Helen, and now he's on like a phone sex line, basically.
Yeah.
Just looking for companionship, even if he's got to pay for it.
$90 an hour.
Jesus.
To talk to a woman that he says, when we talk, you're Helen. And yeah, like he gets to the point in the thing where he's telling her, I'm ready to go on the Walkabout, this thing I've been planning to do for such a long time. Mm-hmm. And I bought 2 tickets.
That's borderline delusional. Come on, let's be realistic. If you're planning a trip, it's like, hey, I'm leaving in a week. Do you want to come?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, let me just drop everything I'm doing in less than a week to go on this trip with you. It's like, come on. Even if you thought that was going to happen, less than a week.
Yeah, no, it's delusional. Like it's a complete separation from reality. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, she's like, John, we've talked about this, and she hangs up on him, and he's just, God, it's sad.
Yeah, it's just sad.
My sweet baby boy.
Cut to Kate and Michael. They're heading back to the beach, but Kate's like, we got to stop somewhere first.
Your injury must not be that fucking severe.
Yeah, it's probably fine. She whips out the antenna. She's like, me and Saeed are doing a communications thing. You wouldn't get it. I'm gonna climb this tree. I'm gonna do it. Just chill here.
Yeah, she climbs up the tree. She's trying to like get the fucking antenna all situated.
As she's up in the tree, she hears a noise. And a loud noise. It's hypothetically a similar noise to the noise they heard in the pilot. Just some racket out in the woods, a Tyrannosaurus or something.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And causes her to drop the antenna. From where she's at, she can tell that it's headed in the direction of where they left Locke.
And it's clearly something big. Like we see a lot of foliage moving around. It's clearly not a boar. It's not a polar bear. It's whatever is in the jungle.
Just tracking down the boars.
Yeah, so we cut to Locke's POV of this, and we don't see what's in the jungle, but we kind of get a POV of whatever it is, and it's massive.
It's looming over him. The chronological viewer's got to assume it's like, oh, well, this guy's done.
Yeah, it's nice knowing you, Terry O'Quinn. That's a wrap on old T-Bone.
Cut to Sawyer.
Yeah.
Back over by Claire. He's like, hey, I was pickpocketing dead bodies, and I don't need their identification. I'm keeping the money. I don't know why. At least that's the subtext, I'm assuming.
Yeah. None of these people flew with cash. That's weird.
So, I mean, he doesn't know how to say, like, this is for your thing. So he's just like, here.
Yeah. Take them. Whatever.
Son and Walt are hanging out still. Son's doing some of her gardening stuff, her herbal remedies things. Like, she's working with the plant.
Aloe vera plant.
Yeah. What's this for? He shows Walt. It's like, you can brush your teeth with it. He's like, oh, hell yeah.
Hey, cool.
And just at this moment, this is when Kate and Michael get back. They come wandering in from the tree line.
Michael's kind of playing it off like, it's not as bad as it looks.
That whole thing about Locke earlier when he was like the scimitar tusks and all that stuff, and it ain't shit. Charlie brings Shannon a fish.
He's all like proud warrior about it. Or proud fisherman. Like, he had to like get inside the mind of the fish or whatever. But yeah, so then she immediately, like, literally turns to Boone. Is like, see, I got a fish. And Boone's like, oh, you poor dumb sweet boy.
Right.
I'm sorry that you got
He's
roped
like,
into
A,
this.
Shannon, that's not what I meant. B, Charlie, you're an all-day sucker. C, I have to leave. And then she didn't even take the fish. Or does she?
Yeah.
But she goes off to argue with Boone some more. Charlie's just left standing there.
Dick in his hand.
Now things start to get a little bit buck wild. Like, things have already been a little sort of like out of pocket throughout this episode. Like, this is where it really the ball starts to accelerate down the mountain. We get an example again here of Rose's faith. Jack says, like, if you want to say something about Bernard at the memorial, I think that might be good for you. And she's like, oh, Bernard's alive.
No, he's fine.
Why would I say something in memory? He's alive. But he was in the tail section. They're all gone. Yeah. They're probably thinking the same thing about us.
I fucking love that, especially knowing what we know about the show. Oh, Me so good.
Jack has the audacity to say, hey, you're suffering from post-traumatic shock. It's like, how dare you claim to know what someone's suffering? She looked calm as ever. And you're like, yeah, you're suffering right now. It's like, hold on.
He said before, he's not a psychologist, he's not a psychiatrist. Like,
if you recognize that, maybe don't just like say that.
Yeah, you have post-traumatic shock. Here's a prescription for fucking benzos. What, dude? But yeah, so like they start heading back, and Jack. Yeah. Speaking of post-traumatic stress, like so he turns to the tree line, and he sees his dead father.
It's like white shoes.
Wearing some fucking Nike New Balances, baby.
Trivia, that's not John Terry. Just a guy that looks like John Terry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like he sees, and that's so like he's like,
what the fuck?
Yep, he gets weirded out. Yeah. We get weirded out.
Yeah, it's fucking spooky as hell.
Yeah. Kate goes up to Saeed and shows him the busted antenna. She's like, I'm sorry, I broke it. I should have got the warranty. So she's trying to deflect. But he gets mad, which, they've got limited resources. He spent all day doing that. He trusted her to do it. She fucking broke it.
He says something, too, about, I have to lie to anyone who asks what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we understand he's trying to triangulate the signal on the island, and they didn't necessarily tell everybody about that. But, like, he could also just say, oh, what are you doing? Building a radio.
Yeah.
I think it's more of like a tie onto the pilot episode where Sawyer is accusing him of being a terrorist. I think that's what it's kind of alluding to. That's my guess, because I just rewatched the pilot just to kind of refresh myself on the characters. But that's my guess. It's kind of a tie into that.
Sure,
that makes sense. Okay, sure. Again, our guests have better point of view than I do. So thank you, Brenton, for just being smart.
Well, again, we watched the pilot 18 months ago.
Oh yeah, that whole thing.
Saeed calms down a little bit. He's like, I'll just try again. I got nothing but time. Other people are doing food. Other people are doing bodies. I can do radio. Kate then goes to Jack and tells him that Locke is missing.
Yeah, that's a pretty big assumption. Like, yeah, he's gone. Wait, what? You saw it? It's
he's gone.
No, he just disappeared.
We all know Kate has problems with object permanence, so it's okay. That's one of her character things.
But Jack sees Christian again.
Yeah, man.
He goes off to sort of chase the apparition or the hallucination or the real guy, whatever it is. Yeah. And he runs into Locke, who is dragging a dead boar into camp.
Brenton, is that what you looked like when you bagged a boar?
No, I mean, usually, I don't know. Maybe he gutted it, so it's not as heavy. I'm not sure. Because usually you want the muscle to cool, so you'll gut it and remove the organ so the muscle doesn't like rot. So you try to cool it off as best you can so bacteria doesn't build up.
But always in that process, you cover yourself head to toe in the animal's blood, right?
It just happens. You're just getting in there slicing, and it just happens to spray on you.
Right.
You black out a little bit, and then you wake up naked, and the animal's been gutted, and whatever.
Well, the thing is, we don't know because we saw the monster looking down at him. Maybe and it killed a boar. Maybe the monster gave him the boar. We don't know, and it's just him trying to carry it. He just got all bloody because it's it's bleeding.
Cut to the funeral or the memorial service.
Mm-hmm. They're doing the best they can. They're basically just reading off whatever information they got.
Anything they got.
So and so was on the flight. Gonna catch a connecting flight.
This person wore corrective lenses.
Would have been an organ donor. These two folks were gonna get married. Nothing on their stuff has their last name. Stuff like that. Blah blah
blah. The bit about the wedding planner book, that one got me.
There's a lot of humanity about these people, especially the ones that we will never identify. It's a reminder there that there were a lot of people on this plane that lost their lives, and we are only going to get to know these 40. These weren't the only ones that started this journey. So Jack seemingly not going to get anything from it, so he's separated himself. Michael asks Locke. He thanks him for thanks for doing the thing. I thought
getting the food for everybody.
But you were out there and you saw the monster.
Did you see the monster?
Or you were by the monster? Or Kate said it was heading right for you. Did you get a look at it? No.
Nope. Didn't see it. Cut to our last flashback.
Locke is speaking with the dude running the Walkabout. He's in Melbourne. The dude's like, you
can't take you long. There's too much walking. We're going to be going over huge swaths of land here.
I was wondering about that because that's like a walkabout tour. So meaning like a tour. So they're on a bus. So a walkabout is like a spiritual, it's coming of age. It's a rite of passage for Aboriginals. And it's generally you're out in the wilderness for 6 months. Mm-hmm. This is a tour. So I don't think it's lasting 6 months. I have some arguments. I feel like if he really wanted to do this, he could do it without doing the tour. He could just go out there and try and survive in the wilderness on his own. He doesn't need to go through a tour, but that's a whole different discussion altogether.
It's interesting too. It's sort of like the touristification of things that are sacred to indigenous peoples. It's a lot of the problems with Hawaii currently, how the island is being choked and dying because of the Navy's presence and the tourist presence and the howler and all that stuff. And it's the same thing here. It's we've taken, like you said, this is a coming of age ritual for the indigenous peoples of Australia. And there's just some dudes hey, get on a bus and we'll give you the real Australian
that's what I'm
experience.
Curious about. If it's a tour, couldn't he still go? It's not like if you're doing, it's not like they're going to drop you off in the wilderness hey, see you in 6 months. What my argument is I feel like he still could have done the tour, and even if he did, they wouldn't let him go. He could have still done it himself.
But he could have stayed in Melbourne and just got in a hotel for a couple of days and then gotten his shit and then gone out into the outback and go camping and do his thing, do his connection to the world and fulfill his destiny. He didn't have to get on the bus. So maybe there's a certain acceptance of his limitations. Maybe he's well, I can do anything I set my mind to. That said, I am in a wheelchair. I do need help getting to the place. I don't know. Maybe there's an element of that in Locke himself. I don't know.
Obviously, whenever people have, any sort of disability, you don't want to limit them. What they can and cannot do is very much up to them. However, I want to see the first bluff they have to climb, and John just looking at it going, oh, fuck, I didn't bring my off-road tires, I know several people who have lost the use of their leg and they have off-road wheelchairs.
There are other types of apparatus, prosthetics, implements that people have to increase their ability.
I suppose that John just showed up in his fucking hospital ass wheelchair.
Yeah, it's just his everyday driver.
I'm gonna go. Right. So it's
The guy tells me, he says, you misrepresented yourself. Locke, I never lied to you. He's you lied by omission. You didn't tell us that you are wheelchair bound. This is a problem for our insurance. Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. The best we can do is just send you back home. And this is the third. Mm-hmm. I can do this. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what I can't do.
But then the guy just gets on the bus and leaves him. So I was guess I'll close up shop then.
And despite the fact that I may have lost this argument, didn't you say you were gonna give me a flight home? You fuck.
We've revealed that he's in the wheelchair. Okay,
he
big
backs
reveal.
away from the desk. We find out that Locke's wheelchair bound. And so then we flash forward to the plane crash day. Locke putting on the shoe, realizing he can move his legs, standing up, getting his bearings, and then immediately starting to contribute to the triage of the plane. Jack's like, you come over here, help me.
There's a brief moment when he's sort of like getting his legs underneath him and he's smiling, you know, like ear to ear, which is so strange. You know, it's like literally everyone's fighting for their lives and screaming and dying. And he's like, this is the best day of my fucking life.
Yeah.
And that's John Locke in this show. That personifies his character.
And so then we cut back to the present and we see Locke looking off at his chair, flickering in the firelight.
So good.
And that's it. Lost.
The unveiling of the wheelchair. It makes sense why he was so angry throughout the show.
Because like we mentioned, there are some clues throughout the show that if you've seen the show once already, or if you already know the punchline, like JP, like he said, the tread on his shoes are not worn out at all.
Right. Yeah.
The one thing that I didn't notice the first time we watched the show, but rewatching it again last night, there's a machine that Locke has on his bedside table next to his phone. It's an electronic muscle stimulating device.
Oh.
And he shuts it off during the phone call, meaning he was sitting there using this machine to stimulate the muscles in his legs.
Sure.
So they don't, weaken or atrophy or whatever. And so that's a little pointer. You never see him stand up throughout the episode, and
right,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they did do a little bit of sprinkling in of the real eagle-eyed observer, or maybe the person who is more conscious of this sort of things that a person who is wheelchair bound or has lost the use of their legs might be conscious, like that machine.
A bunch of assholes that went to film school.
Did we like it? Was it good? That's the first question, right?
Brenton, why don't you start us off? What'd you think about Walkabout?
Yes and no. I liked it and didn't like it. Part I didn't like is it felt different than what I remember it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk
about
that.
I just...
I mean, is it the fact that you already knew the reveal? You know that he was in a wheelchair the whole time?
It could be I have more life experience now. I mean, I do a lot of wilderness stuff, so I feel like I have that perspective. Because I felt like he was that wilderness person when I was first watching it. Like he had his expertise and stuff like that.
Sure.
But now watching it, it's like, he doesn't. He just really wants to.
It's like when you were younger, he was the guy. And now that you're older, you're like,
it's like you grew up thinking your dad's Superman. And then when you get older, you realize he's just a drunk who wears a cape. That's just a joke.
That's a super good joke. I had a similar thought because the scene, that final scene at the agency, I thought that was the lead into the title card. So in my head, I was remembering the reveal of him being in a wheelchair in the first 7 or 8 minutes of the show.
Oh, interesting.
And then as I was watching, I was like, oh wait, the way that they reveal this is so different than from what I was remembering.
I thought he was actually trying to do Walkabout stuff. So. Like I thought most of the episode was him already in Australia trying to get it going, and I completely forgot it was just the ending scene.
Yeah. Interesting.
JP, what about you? Did you like it? Was it good?
I really liked it. Yeah. I have some feelings about the episode before this.
Sure.
But if I'm, 2004 or whatever, and I'm sitting down watching the show and this is the 4th goddamn episode of this show, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Let's go. I gotta know what's going on with these people on this fucking wacky island. Adam?
Yes, I liked it. But again, I think kind of like Brenton, I probably liked it more the first time I saw it because of difference in life experience, difference in maybe knowing the reveal already. Like we've been sort of dancing around the fact that we know Locke was wheelchair bound prior to the island throughout Lost on Lost. But then from another thing, as I was checking out trivia on Lostpedia for the episode, this episode, I think my problems with it are there's sort of like throughout every once in a while, there are little unfinished thoughts, sort of things that kind of come out of nowhere and don't get resolved and vice versa. This has on Lostpedia one of the longest cut material sections that I've seen on any of these articles.
Really?
There are so many things that apparently either got cut in the script itself before they got shot or just got cut after they've been shooting. There's so many things in here.
Anything of note?
Some of it's just exposition, some of it's whatever. It would have made some of these scenes seem a little bit more finished or a little bit more polished. Just for me as the observer. I liked it, I liked it more back then. But I agree with you here. When I hit this 4th episode, I'm like, okay, it's party time. And then they describe it as the Walkabout effect, where many Lost fans describe this episode as the episode that did actually finally set the hook. And make them fans of the show and make them invested in what was going to happen. And I think it's because we've been exposed to Jack in the pilot. We've been exposed to Kate now. We've been exposed to Locke now. So now we have what sort of ends up being the three
trifecta.
leaders of the A team. Yeah.
Well, and it's also the spookiness isn't just something in the woods. There's something else happening, and it's affecting one of our main characters.
Yeah. Like I said, I felt the setting of the hook again. Now, 16 years, 18 years later, whatever it is.
Want to do some MVPs?
Yes.
So, Lost MVP, who is your favorite person from Walkabout, minus anything else you know about the show? Brenton, why don't you kick us off? Who is your MVP?
So I kind of have a toss-up here.
Okay.
First one is Claire. I give her props for taking the
There you
lead,
go.
doing a memorial service. This is emotional closure for the characters.
Yeah.
And the runner-up would be Locke. He brings boar to the survivors. He's providing food. And this is also a personal triumph for him. So he's on his feet again. He's doing the thing he wants to do. He's in his element.
Yeah, I dig it.
Fuck yeah.
I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
JP, what do you think?
It's gotta be my sweet baby boy. You know it is. You know it's that Johnny Locke. I love that he's got 2 legs, that he's walking, that he's running, that he's got weird bloodlust, that he has a suitcase full of knives. I love that he tucks his shirt in still, like into his pants. Fucking everything about him. Love him. Just love him. I love how fucked up he is too.
Yeah.
Terry O'Quinn just kills
real
it.
good.
Adam.
I am going to give it to David Fury, the writer of the episode.
Nice.
Emmy-nominated writer David Fury.
Emmy-nominated writer David Fury, a member of the WGA award-winning season 1 writing staff. Yeah, this episode, it might not be the best episode of Lost that is ever written, but he wrote an episode that if you haven't bought in yet, you are going to buy in.
That's fair.
Yeah, this is your sea change here. It's like if you've gotten to this episode and you don't like it, Lost isn't going to be for you. And it was for a lot of people.
Totally. Well, hey, let's do some Lost Forevers.
Yes.
What do you say, boys? Who is Brenton? You got to tell us who is your least favorite. Who sucks shit? Who could you have done without in this episode? Who is your Lost Forever?
So I kind of got 2, but this one definitely takes the cake. The first one is Randy, the fucking manager piece of shit. He needs to go telling people they can't do things like, hey, man, what kind of leader are you? What kind of leader are you? Set an example, telling people what they can and cannot do. Fuck you. You deserve to be lost forever. You deserve to be lost on that island. And then runner-up would be Shannon because she didn't contribute anything. She didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally fair. Brenton, I'm just going to piggyback right off you. Randy's a little bitch. I hate him. He is not the idea of what a leader is, you know? He has no business being in charge of anything besides what fucking hole he needs to crawl in and never be seen again.
Let's give him the hat trick. Yep, Randy, you, dude. There was nobody in this episode that was as bad as you, even with the tomfoolery that Shannon and Boone were creating on Island. Randy Nations did such a good job of being a colossal piece of shit. Dude, you suck. You suck so hard.
Don't be a Randy.
Yeah,
don't be Randy.
If you're gonna learn anything, don't be Randy. That's a three-peat. I don't know if that's happened before.
It's the writing is so good. You know, this Emmy-nominated show or episode that it's just clear who the heroes and villains are.
Yeah.
Brenton, thank you for joining us for our silly podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. For sure.
What would you like to plug? I know you got some socials out there that you're doing quite a bit of content for.
Well, I got a YouTube channel if people are interested. Kind of goes over like backpacking trips. I go over some adventures I do, gear I have. It's really just for fun. And people that have similar interests. You can check it on YouTube. It's called Tom's National Trails. That's Tom with THOM.
There's some really, really fun stuff. There's whole trips that like I never would have even known about where I'm just like, oh, damn, Brenton put the whole fucking thing together and now I should just go take this trip or go check out this trail or check out this gear or something like that. So if you guys want to, get some real survival, no hollow knowledge, go check out YouTube and IG and all that good stuff.
I'm not an expert by any means. It's really just for fun. And I kind of like
you're
you guys.
You're an expert now. Fuck you.
Yeah. But I try to put content up every 2 weeks, kind of like you guys. So
cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's awesome, dude.
Well,
Very
we'll put
cool.
a link to all that on our socials. Adam, why don't you tell the folks what we're going to watch next time?
next week.
For sure. If you are out there trying to be lost with us, next time we're going to be getting together to talk about season 2, episode 18, Dave,
What?
starring Hurley.
What is the name of the episode?
Dave.
Dave?
What are you doing, Dave?
Dave, yeah.
Like Dave's not here?
Yeah. Dave's not here, man. Yeah, Dave. It's called Dave. I remember this episode. I like this episode a lot. It'll become pretty clear as to why it's called Dave when you watch it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's a early episode, season 2, late season 2, episode 18. It's a Lost classic. Pilots here, Jack Bender, Kitsis, and Horowitz. So,
Oh boy, here we go.
Brenton, thanks again for taking the time. Thanks again for supporting the show on coffee.com. We appreciate that a lot.
Keeping the lights on.
Appreciate the invite and keep up the good work, guys.
Appreciate
Thanks,
that,
bud.
man. Thank you. JP,
Yeah.
do you have any idea what's going on the show?
Nope.
Me neither. Lost on Lost is produced and edited by me and JP.
We wish to acknowledge that we live, work, and produce our show on occupied land.
Burbank, California is located on the traditional tribal lands of the Tongva, Chumash, Kizh, and Fernandino Tataviam peoples.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin is located on the traditional tribal lands of the Peoria, Potawatomi, Miama, and Ho-Chunk peoples.
And Lost was produced in Hawaii on the lands of the Kanaka Maoli.
Visit native-land.ca to learn more about the land you live and work on.
You can engage with us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter at Lost on Lost 1.
You can also email us at wearelostonlost@gmail.com or support us with dollar monies at coffee.com/wearelostonlost.
Thanks to Lostpedia and its community of contributors, Danny Schmitz, random.org, and as always, you the listeners for tuning in.
We're hosted at Podbean. You can hear us there or wherever you get your podcasts, except MySpace. We're not on MySpace.
Yet.